A burglar entered into a religious woman's house. Once a wealthy old religious woman caught a burglar ransacking her things. She had lived her whole life as a celibate, almost like a nun. "Listen, lady, keep quiet if you don't want to be hurt. Just tell me where your jewels are," she said. "I don't keep them here. They are in the bank in the safe deposit vault." "Where is all your silver then?" "I am sorry, but it is all out, being cleaned and polished." "Give me your money then." "I tell you," she said, "I don't keep any cash on hand." "Listen, lady, I am warning you, give me your money, or I will rip it off you." And he started feeling her up and down. "I keep telling you," she said, "I don't have any money, but if you do that again, I will write you a check." 2. A bakery owner hires a young female clerk who likes to wear very short skirts and thong panties. One day, a young man enters the store, glances at the clerk and at the loaves of bread behind the counter. Noticing her short skirt and the location of the raisin bread, he has a brilliant idea. "I'd like some raisin bread, please," the man says. The clerk nods and climbs up a ladder to reach the raisin bread located on the very top shelf. The man standing almost directly beneath her is provided with an excellent view, just as he thought. When she descends the ladder, he decides that he had better get 2 loaves, as he is having company for dinner. As the clerk retrieves the second loaf of bread, one of the other male customers notices what's going on and requests his own loaf of raisin bread. After many trips, she is tired, irritated, and begins to wonder why the unusual interest in the raisin bread. Atop the ladder one more time, she looks down and glares at the men standing below. Then she notices an elderly man standing amongst the crowd. Thinking that she can save herself a trip, she yells at the elderly man, "Is it raisin for you too?" "No," stammers the old man, "but it's quivering a little." 3. Jamie's house was ransacked and burglarized. Returning home from work, Jamie was shocked to find that the house had been ransacked and burglarized. After telephoning the police, the dispatcher broadcast the call on the radio, and a K-9 unit, patrolling nearby, was the first to respond. As the K-9 officer approached the house with his dog on a leash, Jamie ran out on the porch, shuddered at the sight of the cop and his dog, then sat down on the steps. Incredulous, Jamie moaned, "I come home to find all my possessions stolen. I call the police for help, and what do? They send me a blind policeman." 4. A burglar breaks into a joint. While going through the owner's belongings, a shrill voices goes, "Heavenly Father is watching you. Heavenly Father is watching you." Slightly irritated, the burglar switches on the light and sees a parrot in the corner, repeating its line. "Heavenly Father is watching you. Heavenly Father is watching you." Burglar. Ha. "Look at you. What's your name?" Parrot. "Jared Leto." Burglar. "That's an odd name for a parrot. Who would name their parrot Jared Leto?" Parrot. "The same person who would name his Rottweiler Heavenly Father." First cake day joke. 5. A college student wanted to sit next to one of his teachers at lunch. However, the teacher looked at the student with an arrogant face and said, "A swan shan't be friends with a pig." "Then I shall fly on," answered the student with a smile. The teacher was clearly vexed by the cheeky reply and decided to make sure to do everything in his power to fail the student. At the oral exam, he gave the student the hardest questions, but the student had amazing answers for everything. Therefore, hoping he could still fail his victim, the teacher asked him a trickier question. "You're walking on a road and you find 2 bags. One contains gold, the other cleverness. Which bag do you choose?" "The gold." Unfortunately, I don't agree. I'd choose cleverness, because that's more important than money. Everyone would choose what they don't have, says the student. The teacher turns red, and he's so angry he writes ass on the student's paper. The student leaves without looking at the paper. However, he returns shortly, gives back his paper, and says, "Excuse me, sir, you signed my paper, but you forgot to give me my grade." 6. Carolyn, a rich blonde, buys a new automatic Jaguar XKR Sport. She drives the car perfectly well during the day, but at night, the car just won't move at all. After trying to drive the car at night for a week, but without any luck, she furiously calls the Jaguar dealers, and they send out a technician to her. The technician examines the car and finds nothing wrong with it. So he turns to the blonde and asks, "Ma'am, are you sure you are using the right gears?" Full of anger, the blonde replies, "How on earth you could ask such a question? I'm not stupid, you know. Of course I am using the right gears. I use D during the day and N at night." 7. A man takes off his shirt in the gym. A blonde comes up to him and says, "Wow, what a great chest you have." The man replies, "That's 100 pounds of dynamite, babe." The man then takes off his pants. The blonde says, "Wow, what great calves you have." The man then replies, "That's 200 pounds of dynamite, babe." The man then takes of his underwear. The blonde runs off screaming in fear. When the man catches up to her, he asks, "Why did you run away?" The blonde replies, "I didn't want to be around all that dynamite when I saw how short the fuse was." 8. An exam was taking place in Oxford's oldest and most traditional college. The ancient hall was packed with students in deep concentration. Halfway through, a student stood up, banged his desk, and loudly demanded a pint of beer. The head examiner, furious at the disruption, asked him to explain yourself at once. The student cited Section 7.b of a long-forgotten 13th century charter, which stated students must receive a pint of ale at the midpoint of all exams. After finding a copy of the charter and seeing the student was right, the examiner begrudgingly dispatched an assistant to fetch a beer. As the student smugly sipped on his pint, the head examiner suddenly announced, "You are expelled from this college, effective immediately." "Why?" asked the student. "For entering an exam hall without your sword." 9. A prison decides to renovate its showers. An aging prison facility is constantly beset by long queues for the shower area, which the managers decide to do something about because having all the prisoners together in one area outside of their cells might get nasty. So they look into the problem and realize that, although the showers themselves are fast enough, the prisoners actually spend a suspiciously long amount of time drying themselves, causing another possible security threat. The managers then hit on the idea of installing a sort of drying cubicle next to the shower, where each prisoner would enter, be assailed by strong blasts of air from all directions, and be fully dry within half a minute, thus leaving them with no excuse to loiter in the shower. So they install these drying boxes for the prisoners, and at first they seemed to be a great success. However, although the machines worked, they were so powerful that they caused a lot of noise, even from outside of the boxes, and, this is important, the noise could be heard in the managers' offices. So the managers decided to find another solution and remove the drying machines because they couldn't do any work with that cacophony happening every evening. When the technician eventually arrives at the prison to remove the machines, he seems rather reluctant for some reason, but the managers insist he does the deed. However, the moment they are disconnected, there's a massive electricity failure throughout the entire complex, leading to all the prisoners escaping due to lack of electric security systems. Of course, the managers are outraged and start shouting at the technician, "What the hell did you do? I told you to remove those damn drying boxes, not let all the inmates escape." The technician says calmly, "I thought you knew what would happen if those drying machines were removed." This does nothing to assuage the manager's anger, and they keep demanding an explanation as to why they should have known that there would be a power cut. After several minutes of argument, they finally get one. "Don't you remember?" says the technician. "The mighty con dryer is the powerhouse of the cell."